Well, welcome to a quick review for our test tomorrow. So we've got one big test before Thanksgiving break here, and I've posted, 5 questions, I think. And I suggest that you just write them down, try them on your own, and then when you're ready, I'll have the solutions worked out and you can compare anything you need to. Don't forget, we're always available for help in the morning. Question 1 was about multiplying and dividing. So here are just my general rules of thumb. Change division to multiplication and flip the second fraction. So we change division and we'll flip this fraction. Factor all terms, and then cancel only terms on the top with terms on the bottom. So I have mine all factored out. Hopefully yours look the same. And I'm going to cancel my x minus 3's. And let's see, the only other thing I'm going to cancel is my 4 minus x and my x minus 4. But notice that they're opposites and they actually cancel to a -1. And I'm always going to put that negative on the top. And really, I don't have anything left to cancel, so I'm just going to multiply what I have on top. So this -1 times 2 gets me a -2, times the 2x plus 1. All over, I have a 5 times the x plus 4. If you're looking for any more review of multiplying and dividing, feel free to go back and re-watch part of that video. Question 2. Again, here are just my general rules of thumb. Factor, multiply by the common denominator, and then again factor and simplify. So I factor my denominator and I've got x plus 3 and x minus 3. So as I look at my denominators, I would say my common denominator is x plus 3 and x minus 3. So recall, we write that next to both, x plus 3 over x minus 3, because really we want to think of it as multiplying by 1. All right, so what do I actually write next to this? Well, I'm going to multiply the numerators, recall, by the x plus 3x minus 3 over 1, and the numerators of this guy by the x plus 3 and x minus 3 over 1. So basically, I just took this and I multiplied it to the top, and I took this and multiplied it to the top. Now watch the magic happen. The whole idea is that you clear the complex fraction, so I really just get 3x times the x minus 3 in the numerator, and I clear those completely, so I just get the x in the denominator. Now I have one last move I can make. I can simplify this because I have this x sitting alone on top and the x alone on the bottom. So I end up with just 3 times x minus 3. Part B was another complex fraction. Notice in this case, I didn't have to factor my denominators, so I just went through and asked myself, what is my common denominator? And as I'm looking at them, remember I need an x squared and a y squared. So I am truly multiplying by x squared, y squared to the top and to the bottom. Okay? The other thing I want you to catch and just be careful with is that we always want to change our minus signs to positive and make that guy a negative there. So again, I'm multiplying this whole top by x squared, y squared over 1, and this whole bottom by x squared, y squared over 1. Okay, and I'm really doing it to each term. You can think of it as, distributing it through to each term. Let's see, so in that first one, I get just an x, y squared, plus an x squared, y, all over. My x squareds cancel, so I get y squared minus x squared. All right, so once I've multiplied, and again, you can think of it as writing this x squared, y squared next to each term. I'm doing it to this term, to this term, to this term, and to this term. I gotta do it to everybody. Then I can go back and factor. So on top, I see GCF. Remember, look for GCF first. I can pull out an x and a y. Let's see, I'm left with y plus x. On the bottom, I don't have a GCF because nothing in those is the same, so I have the difference of two perfect squares. I have y minus x and y plus x. And then my y plus x's will cancel to an even 1, and I've got x times y divided by y minus x. Adding and subtracting. So again, I just want to go over the 3 main ideas. We're going to factor our denominators first if we have to, multiply by the least common denominator, and most importantly, this is the one and only time where we actually keep the denominator. When you add or subtract fractions, your final answer still has to be a fraction. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is go factor that denominator. I've got perfect squares, so I'm going to say that's a plus 1 and a minus 1. All right, the other thing I want to take care of is that ugly negative. Let's get that out of the way. All right, and I'm going to go through and I'm going to say to myself, I need to keep the denominator. I'm going to write two fractions with the same denominator. So staring at my denominators, my least common denominator is a plus 1 and a minus 1. So I'm going to go ahead and say I need this to be a plus 1 and a minus 1. And I need this to be a plus 1 and a minus 1. Now I just have to ask, minus 1. I just have to ask myself, how do I get those? Well, this fraction, I don't have to touch it all. It already has the a plus 1, a minus 1, so I'm just going to leave it as 3a plus 1. However, this fraction only had the a plus 1, so I have to multiply the top and bottom by a minus 1. So now on top, I'm going to get negative a plus 1. Notice I had to take that negative 1 and distribute. One of our biggest mistakes is not changing this negative to a positive. Now I'll rewrite it as one big fraction with the common denominator. A plus 1 and a minus 1 in the denominator. On top, I have my 3a plus 1 minus a plus 1. So let's see, that gets me a total of 2a plus 2 divided by my a plus 1 and a minus 1. And I can factor that top. I can pull out the 2. And I've got my a plus 1 divided by my a plus 1 and a minus 1. So lastly, I can say I get, let's see, those cancel, a 2 over a minus 1. Okay, so I just want to remind you, when you add and subtract fractions, this is the only time we're going to keep our denominator. Lastly, I can say that a cannot equal 1. That's when my fraction is undefined. Well, our last big bear for the night is a fractional equation. So again, I'll just state the ideas in case you got stuck. You want to factor denominators if necessary, state what makes this fraction undefined, find the LCD, multiply all terms by the LCD, clearing the fraction, and then solve and check. So I've got my equation rewritten here. Bear trap number 1, watch that negative. We want to make sure we change that subtraction to addition, and then we have to make that term negative. All right, so that's our first little baby bear trap. All right, I'm going to put this over a 1 and say, what is my common denominator? Well, remember, my LCD is the plain old x, and then the binomial x plus 2. So I have the monomial x and the binomial x plus 2. And I already forgot step number 1 here. I got to state what makes this fraction undefined. Since x is a binomial here, x cannot equal 0. And here, x cannot equal negative 2. So if I get any of those answers, I have to reject them. All right, now the fun part comes in. We're going to multiply every term by the LCD. So I'm going to say I have x times my x plus 2 times the 4x over the x plus 2 plus I have my x times the x plus 2 times the negative 12 over x equals my x times the x plus 2, everybody gets it, it's like Christmas, times the 1. All right, so that LCD got multiplied by every term. Now, the whole point of that is I should clear some fractions. Watch the magic happen. X plus 2 and x plus 2 clear, so I've got x times 4x, which is 4x squared. Then I've got a plus sign. The x and the x clear. Just be careful, we should be multiplying by negative 12, so I get a negative 12x minus 24. Then we have an equal sign. Nothing clears here, so just multiply, x times x plus 2 is x squared plus 2x, and then it's all of that times 1. So that's just x squared plus 2x. All right, we'll set her equal to 0. I'll subtract the x squared over. That gets me 3x squared. I'm going to subtract the 2x over. That gets me negative 14x minus 24 equals 0. We'll factor and solve. A little guess and check action. I know that has to be 3x and x. I'm thinking I got to go with, let's see, I've got a negative 24. That means my signs have to be different. Plus 4 and minus 6. Let's see. That gets me negative 18 and a plus 4 gives me a negative 14, so that works. If I tee this up, remember you got to set each side equal to 0, so I get x equals 6, and here I get x equals negative 4/3. Now just go back and check, do I have to reject either of those answers? I was only rejecting if I got a 0 or a negative 2, so I'm going to keep both answers. So I get negative 4/3 and 6. Well, again, feel free to come in the morning if you need any help, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a great night.